Hello, I'm Richard. Welcome back to Over and Over and Over Again, the Positive Arsenal channel. This is the Arsenal versus Newcastle pre-match warm-up show. Hello, how are you doing? Yeah, good evening. It's Richard again, back on Over and Over and Over Again. This is going to be the show, so we're going to look ahead to the game tonight. Kicks off in an hour and a half against Newcastle, of course, at the Emirates. A repeat of the FA Cup game that was played just over a week ago now, wasn't it? Let's hope it's a slightly better game of football, because that wasn't great to watch, was it? Joining me tonight, I've got a couple of special guests joining me. First of all, of course, he's always on the channel. He's growing roots here, actually, but it's always good to have him on. It's Melvin. How you doing, Melvin? You all right?
Yeah, fine, thanks, John. Good evening, everybody. Bit of deja vu going on, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, it's the way the fixtures have worked out, isn't it? We played Newcastle twice. John will be joining us as well in a minute. He was just on, but he seemed to have an issue with his connection. So I thought we'd just kind of get started. I was hoping he would have managed to sort it out before, but he hasn't yet. But it's fine. He'll be here in a minute anyway, just to get the Newcastle perspective on everything before we get the team news, which will be out about 7 o'clock. So we've got about half an hour or so to look ahead to the game, first of all, and then we can then discuss the team news once it becomes available about 7 o'clock. So, I mean, I suppose the best place to start, really, Melvin, will be obviously our game in midweek against Crystal Palace, which was not the greatest performance, was it? And it's kind of a little bit of a step backwards to the performances before Christmas, wasn't it? Which was not what we was expecting, perhaps.
No, I mean, it would have been perfect to have 4 off the reel, exactly like they were, but it wasn't to be. I think that it shows you how much we rely on certain players. Tierney not playing made a hell of a lot of difference to us. It just stopped our movement down the left-hand side. So we were easy to defend against. But, you know, it's a shame, really. I mean, we need a backup left-back, not just someone to play at left-back, someone who is a left-back and who can attack and go forward. So I think that's something that we need to do as well. Not just an ordinary left back. We do need an upper left back. Obviously, we need a backup goalkeeper, which is some might say is as important.
Yeah, but I mean,
it was just very lackluster.
Yeah, it was. We've got someone in from Kenya, so thanks for joining us. Hopefully, you'll enjoy the game tonight, and stay tuned afterwards as well, because I'll be doing a watch along of the game, which will be really exciting. So Melvin's going to be joining us as well for that, and John as well, when he gets his internet sorted out, which I think he must be having a few issues at the moment, unfortunately, but I'm sure he'll be here very soon. Yeah, I mean, I suppose I personally felt that there was maybe a little bit too much emphasis put on Kieran Tierney not playing, because he played in all them games before Christmas when we were poor. And I know he's been playing well and he's had a great season and we did miss him, but I don't believe that was the reason why we were so flat, actually. I do feel there was a few players that were off form, maybe tired. I thought Saka didn't have as much influence as he has perhaps lately. I thought Smith Rowe didn't have his greatest game either, did he? He was a little bit, again, he's played a lot of games in a short space of time and been out for ages. And I feel as though maybe our key players, or the ones that have been our key players in the previous 3 or 4 games, wasn't quite on their game. And as a result of that, we did struggle to create anything. It just kind of showed, didn't it, last night, or was it the night before, when Man City destroyed Crystal Palace? You know, and it kind of just shows how far away we are from that level, isn't it, unfortunately?
I think someone else a load of the players were below par. Some of them went back to their pre-Smith Rowe days, if you like. And one of them was Bellerin. He became very negative again. First thought in his mind was backwards, sideways, backwards, even when we had a chance of pushing the ball forward. So I was that having not the left-hand side perform, with Bellerin doing that, our right-hand side wasn't performing. So really, we were going to be struggling, really. Let's hope today Bellerin and the likes pick up their game, be positive, go forward, and play at a higher level, a bigger pace than we've been doing. Because that game was so different to the other 3 games. It was like everybody was playing in mud compared to a week or so before.
No, it was a very. It reminded me so much of all those other home games before Christmas, actually, when that similar sort of performance. And I was surprised by that, because I thought we'd turned that corner a little bit and left those performances behind us. But we clearly haven't. And unfortunately, when you think about it, the Newcastle FA Cup game was 0-0 at 90 minutes. The Crystal Palace game was 0-0 at 90 minutes. We're struggling to create any chances. And yes, we're not looking that under pressure at the back particularly. I mean, I don't think either team came at as an attack that much, really. I mean, Leno made a good save against Newcastle, made a good save against Crystal Palace. But other than that, they didn't, neither of those teams really gave us a lot of problems defensively. So it's at the other end, isn't it? Actually, John's got his internet back. Welcome to the show, John. You all right, mate? you got your internet working.
No, it's just my mum was using the phone downstairs. It just if she used the phone, then it just ruins the whole thing. So look, I'm back.
Brilliant. It's great to have. I mean, we were just literally talking about our midweek game against Crystal Palace, which wasn't the greatest performance from Arsenal, obviously a 0-0 draw. I wanted to get on, obviously you guys had an even worse result, didn't you, during midweek as well against Sheffield United? I mean, I saw your video on it. I know a lot of Newcastle fans weren't very happy with the performance. I personally thought you was a little bit unlucky to lose. That was never a penalty in a million years, was it, really?
Look, it was borderline. I looked to watch it about 5 or 6 times. I mean, when I first watched it again, I thought it did it his hand, but unfortunately got far in the game now, and it checks on every single thing, and that's all it is. Yeah. But another year without the VAR, it would have been carried on, and we've been talking about this. But at the end of the day, when VAR saw it, what can you do? I mean, it didn't. I look at it again. I didn't think it was a penalty. It was borderline, could have gone out of the way, but I didn't think so.
I thought, if anything, it was a foul on. I thought it was a free kick to Newcastle, actually. It looked like the guy had been fouled, and then he got pushed onto the ball, which hit his hand. I mean, that's how I saw it. I mean, obviously, VAR saw it differently. The referee saw it differently, and it was a penalty. But I guess losing to Sheffield United, who hadn't won all season, regardless of that, is disappointing, isn't it? I mean, I know how I would have felt if that was our result, our performance. I mean, you looked as though Steve Bruce had set out there to go for a draw, and then maybe try and nick a goal if possible on the break. And of course, in the end, you were down to 10 men and obviously conceded that penalty, and it then became really difficult, didn't it?
It did. I mean, lots of things went wrong with us. I mean, even if it wasn't a penalty or not, Sheffield United were a better team from minute 1 to minute 90. I mean, we just did not perform. When I looked at that team sheet, I thought we was going to get beat. I done a watch along. I mean, you might have known I did a watch on that game with GM Sharkey, a Newcastle fan. And we was both absolutely furious. We looked at the team lineup. It was set up a team that to get not to lose. We didn't want to be the first team to get beat off Sheffield United. But at the end of the day, it's just the tactics yet again. And it's so frustrating. Well, I watched it. I look at it all the time. But the players did not want to be there that night. Isaac Hayden, I don't know if you watched this. He went over to Steve Bruce and he asked him the question on the pitch: where do you want us to be? Where do you want us to be? What position do you want us to be? Because he looked lost. Most of the players looked lost at the end of the day. And when you get a player go over and ask that question to your manager,
it's a worry.
And then problems. You're right. It's a worry. And I've noticed that straight away. And another thing was, Billy Sharp did a tackle where he should have got sent off. And not one Newcastle player went up to the referee. Not one went up, not just the referee. They never went up to Billy Sharp and just say, hang on a minute, what's your game? What are you doing? Because
John, I'll tell you something. That was the commentator said it was a yellow. I couldn't see it as a yellow, honestly. And also, you're right. You say we've had it with our team. We don't have a captain as such. All right, we've got a Batman. We haven't got what I call a real captain. Right, forget about football captain, and we haven't got fighters in the team. Go back a couple of years. If we've had it with recently, people have been kicking the crap out of us. We've got no one to go up to the player doing it and go, "You do that again, son. You'll get some off of us." Or play us around the ref, or just do so. Have a reaction so the other players know that if they do it again, there's going to be a reaction from the Arsenal. We don't get that. Hopefully we're going to start getting that with a few more characters in the team and youngsters that want to wear the badge. But we have a very parallel thing in that respect. If you let teams get away with murder, sometimes the referee allows them to get away with murder too. I mean, that was a nasty tackle. He wasn't going to win the ball. Middle of the park, wasn't it? Middle of the park, wasn't it? Yeah. He wasn't going anywhere.
No, he wasn't going anywhere. No.
Poor.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Mark's in the chat. He's a Leeds fan. He was on our show a while back, a couple of months back, before we played Leeds. If you remember him, Melvin.
Yeah.
Great guy. He's had a few health problems, unfortunately, so I hope he's feeling better now. And he makes a kind of point. Yeah, it is kind of you think after a couple of good results, things will pick up, and sometimes they don't always, do they? And sometimes it's hard to explain why. I mean, obviously, in terms of the game tonight, I mean, the team's going to be out in about 20 minutes. We'll look at them when they're out. But I mean, I personally am expecting Newcastle to play a very similar way to that Crystal Palace did against us last game in terms of, getting people behind the ball, making it difficult, and then trying to, hopefully, for their point of view, get something on the break. And I think it's going to be up to us to try to break Newcastle down, which we struggled to do in the FA Cup. We couldn't do against Crystal Palace. And I fear that our form at home has been like this for a long time now. The only team we've managed to beat in our last 7 games in the Premier League at home was Chelsea. And that was because Chelsea didn't really sit deep and play like that. They sort of were quite open, and we were able to take advantage of that and win the game. Newcastle aren't going to play like that. You can guarantee Steve Bruce is going to come. And I think if you offer Steve Bruce a 0-0 draw now, I think he would take it and go home. Did you think that's fair, John?
Oh, well, I have to agree. I mean, any point will do. I mean, I'll be happy for a point and eat. But you just said that he's going to play the same way. But I've heard now that he's going to play a 4-4-2 because Steve Bruce had a press conference on Friday. I don't know if you listened to that. He was just getting a bit stressed. He basically saying that all the gloves is going to come off, gloves are off, and the grenade is going to be thrown in. And he come out and say in the press he's going to do it his way. Now, what he means by that, he's not going to use Rafa Benitez tactics, but in 5-4-1, he's going to play his way. My understanding is he's going to play a 4-4-2 with Andy Carroll and Callum Wilson at the top. That's what I'm hearing. But you're right. Players got to start taking responsibilities as well. If they don't, then you're not playing for the manager. And simple as that. But I'll fully expect a 4-4-2 and if he plays a 5-4-1 and he gets beat again, then the nice to truly be out for Bruce. Yeah,
I mean, that seems to be what the fans are complaining about the most, isn't it? The tactics and the 5-4-1 system and stuff like that, which isn't very exciting to watch. I guess that's unfortunately the way it's gone. I mean, what are you thinking, Melvin? Do you expect it to? I mean, I'll be quite surprised actually if they do play 4-4-2. I've got to be honest. It'd be good because it might make it a little bit more of an open game. If they play, Wilson and Carroll up front, I mean, it would cause us possibly problems, but at least it'd be an open game. And I think that would suit us more than if they stick everyone behind the ball as they did in the FA Cup, because we were a little bit fortunate perhaps to have got through that game in the end, weren't we?
If Bruce does actually play 4-4-2, that would mean he's showing courage because he can win this game by playing that system against us. Because I don't know if he's got the courage to do it. What he says and what he does perhaps is not the same thing. But if he Carroll up front with Wilson, I think we might struggle. That we might concede a goal or two. And I don't think unless we get our attacking formation correct, we aren't going to score that many. So it will be much tougher for us. If he plays the 5-4-1, which he could do as well, we will struggle to get a goal. I think we might nick one, but we will struggle. We really will. And it's a matter of showing someone to show a bit of quality or get a dodgy decision like some teams need to get. I don't see us winning 3 or not that we ever would, looking to beat Newcastle 3 or 4. I'd love to go into a game thinking, we could beat this team 3 or 4. But I don't think we will. I think it's going to be hard work again for us. I don't know what it is at home, I suppose, because away from home, the team's got to come at us and we're perhaps better on the break with this team. But it's very disappointing that we haven't got what I would call, as Saka's brilliant, don't get me wrong, I love him on the right, but he's not what I call a true winger, nor on the left-hand side is Aubameyang. Saka is more of a winger than Aubameyang, obviously. But we need someone to break open in defence, like on one of the wings. On the left wing, we need a proper left winger. And if that means playing with one centre forward, either Laka or Aubameyang, so be it. But we can't afford to have a non-winger on the wing, in my opinion.
No, I agree. I mean, Aubameyang scored a few goals in that position, but it's not helpful for the team system, I don't think, having him out on the left wing. I think Saka's done a good job there, but then we haven't really got anyone on the right. He's our best player on the right as well, isn't he?
Yeah.
So that's our problem. I mean, John, obviously Mark's sort of asking you there about Steve Bruce losing control of the dressing room, possibly. He thinks it's another good squad. I agree. I do think Newcastle have got a fairly decent squad, actually. I think the addition of Callum Wilson in the summer was a good signing. The other guy from Bournemouth as well. I think he's a good player, Fraser, when he's fit. So I think Newcastle's squad potentially is actually pretty good for the Premier League. And unfortunately, a bit like Arsenal, as he says, it underperforming. Do you think Steve Bruce has lost the dressing room? And if so, why do you think that would have happened?
In my personal view, yes, he's definitely lost the dressing room because he's not playing players in the correct positions and the style of play. And if you look at the squad, we've got a cracking team. We've got a great squad there with full of attacking talent. But at the end of the day, if you're not going to play players in the right position and they're not going to be happy, then you lose the dressing room. It's just the way it boosts this team up. And it's so frustrating. And the bottom line is, he's lost the dressing room months ago. And I said that on Twitter months ago. And then people were having a go at us. And I just, okay, we'll see. And it's been proved. But the players aren't happy. All they want, I mean, also you had a bus stop with Alain Saint-Maximin as well, ASM. That was a couple of months ago because he was sent home after a bus stop. I don't care what happened. It did happen. There's definitely a bus stop between the two. But he's definitely lost the players there. Lascelles has also spoken to him as well about changing the team, changing the squad and changing the style of play. And Bruce didn't listen to them at all. So I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, but what I do know, he's definitely lost the dressing room.
When you see a player going up to a manager on the half-wide and type of asking him, what do you want from us? I mean, that's really not only showing that the player hasn't got any confidence in the manager, it's showing a bit of deceit, isn't it, really? He's like having he's letting everyone know that this guy ain't got a clue. It may not be, but it could be showing that they think the manager hasn't got a clue. You don't do that. I can't imagine any footballer of any team of like the standing of the big managers. And that's no disrespect to Bruce. I'm talking about the top level, like the Mourinhos. I'm talking about Ferguson. I can name half a dozen, right? Would never go up to a manager and go, where do you want me to play? What are you doing? What are you talking about? It would never happen. It might have been in the dressing room via a few teacups. It would never happen on a touchline. And that's showing a little bit of disrespect. That's showing, John, a little bit of disrespect to the manager, in my opinion, as well. Yeah,
it is. If you're going to do things like that, do in the dressing room, don't do it on the pitch. Yeah. But I can honestly see why Isaac done that because, he just didn't know what to do. But listen, it is what it is, and it's done. And he's definitely lost this. And Mike Ashley cannot see the problem. He must know that the players aren't happy because he's paying them $100,000 a week to Callum Wilson, $90,000 for John Joe Shelby and Joe Linton. He's paying all the big money to perform, and they're not performing because of Steve Bruce. Mike Ashley must know. He must go now sort of say, look, Steve, you've tried your best, but it ain't working. You got to go because you lost the dressing room. And Ashley can't see that. And another thing is, where is Mike Ashley? Where's the CEO, Lee Charnley? He's the chief executive, right? And he said to us that he's going to communicate more with the fans. We are back in the summer. And we're talking about January now. And he hasn't said a word. It's a joke. The communication between Ashley, Charlie, and the support us is absolutely poor. They don't like us fans at all whatsoever. You have to have a bond with the fans. If you don't, they just walk away.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, Joel there in the chat, thanks for tuning in, Joel. He thinks it's going to be a 1-0, perhaps either way. I wouldn't be surprised at all by that, if I'm totally honest. I think maybe one of the reasons that Steve Bruce isn't necessarily being sacked yet, or that isn't maybe happening, is because the position in the league for Newcastle actually hasn't been too bad. Yes, they're sinking a little bit slower down now towards the relegation zone. And I do feel as though maybe 2 or 3 more defeats in the next couple of games could be the trigger, because some of those teams in the bottom 4 or 5 are starting to pick up points and win games, and they're closing that gap. And I think that might make a difference. If Newcastle suddenly find themselves in the bottom 3 or fall from bottom, then suddenly I do feel as though maybe that might be the thing that pushes Mike Ashley to maybe pulling the trigger on Steve Bruce. And I think until that happens, I don't think that's necessarily going to happen at all, unfortunately, from your point of view, because I know you want him gone. And so does Paul, who was obviously on before as well.
Paul said it. Paul said it, and John said it last time. Basically, the managers there could keep him in the top division. That's all they want. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to push himself too much, Bruce.
Yeah.
So
No,
if
exactly.
he keeps Newcastle in and say, I'm not going to take any risks here, just keep me in the bottom like 6 to 8 from bottom, and we'll be here next season as well. Job done for the owner and for the manager.
No, exactly. That's what I'm saying. So until Newcastle are sucked into that bottom 3 or bottom 4, I don't think that there's going to be any change of manager at this moment in time. I really don't. And like you said, it's about the ambition of the club, isn't it? And if the club's ambition is literally just to finish 17th or above, then Steve Bruce is going to be safe, because that's probably where Newcastle will finish 17th or above. I think. I honestly do. With the players that they've got, they'll get away with it and not go down, because you've got enough quality in that team to pick up enough points to be able to stay up. Eric is a little bit more optimistic. Thinks it'll be a convincing 3-0 win. Well, that'd be nice. We're very good at making teams. Brilliant. Oh, I see. Right, yeah, he's a Newcastle fan. Well, fair enough. I mean, clearly you've not been watching Arsenal enough to think we win 3-0, because we won't. I think it'll be more likely to be a very, very cagey tight game that might be 1 goal either way, as Joel said. I mean, if we won 3-0, I'll be more than happy, but I'll be surprised if that was to happen. I really do. I mean, I think that this is the sort of game for me against this sort of opposition, where I know we did win 4-0 last season, this particular fixture, but it was 0-0, wasn't it? That game last year, if you remember, it was 0-0 for a long time, wasn't it? And it wasn't until, in fact, Newcastle had a couple of good chances in the first half, and then we got a goal. I think it was Aubameyang's header, wasn't it, that put us in front? And then
one of his only headers.
Yeah, and then we got another one straight after, and then that sort of killed the game off, didn't it? So I can't see it being like that this time in terms of the final score. I really can't. I think it's going to be down to us to try to break Newcastle down, and that's where we struggle. It's where at home. I don't know. We don't seem to have that. I don't know. There's something missing in the final third of the pitch with Arsenal. I mean, I said it the other day on my video when I was reviewing the Crystal Palace game, that to me, Mikel Arteta is a great coach in theory. I think on the board, when he's got his tactics board, I think he's brilliant. But when they're on the pitch, the players can't put that into place on the pitch in a game. And I think that whether it's because the players aren't good enough, maybe he was used to better players at Man City, so maybe he could go through this on a tactics board, and the players they can go out and do it. And I think with Arsenal players, maybe they're not good enough to go and do that, or are these ideas not being worked on properly in the training ground? I don't know, because something's missing when we get into the final third. We're all nice and neat and tidy. We keep the ball well. We pass backwards, pass sideways, all neat and tidy. And then we get into the final third, and it's like they don't seem to know what they need to do. If in a way, the only time we've actually looked fairly fluid going forward was when Smith Rowe's playing well, because he seems to have a little bit more, plays with more freedom. And against teams like West Brom, who we beat 4-0, who were very, very, very poor, we have to say.
It's not the final third, Richard. I mean, I agree, we are poor in the final third. That's because in the middle, when we get the ball, we're so slow, we give the opposition a chance to formulate their defence.
Yeah.
That's the problem. It's not just the forwards it's the midfield have got to take a lot of responsibility for the reason that we don't break quickly, run into open spaces and make chances.
Yeah. No, I'm saying that's in the final third of the pitch, not necessarily the players that play in the final third.
Yeah.
When we get into the final third of the pitch, and whether that's because the midfield, I agree, the midfield is the biggest problem. Hopefully, Thomas Partey coming into the side, hopefully he might start tonight. Actually, we'll find out in a minute. I think he could make a difference, certainly giving us a little bit more drive from midfield. But yeah, I don't know. There seems to be something missing, and from what I've seen of Newcastle lately, it's almost like watching Arsenal in a way. Just the way that they play, and that very, like you said, Melvin, they're very slow build-up play, great at passing the ball backwards and sideways, but not enough movement in front to break teams down. Joel says here, based on the FA Cup game, and when we couldn't get the game, well, yeah, I would take 3-0. Of course, I think we all would, apart from John, obviously. But yeah, I think, yeah. And Mark says there, it's got low score draw. Yeah, I would say that I'll be amazed if there's more than 2 goals in this game. I've got to be honest. Whether it's 1-1, 1-0, 2-0.
Can I ask John a question? John, when was the last time Newcastle played with the handbrake off? From the kickoff, went at a team.
Well, we scored in the first minute against West Brom last month, But other than that, not hard. Because what we do with the kick off,
That's the problem.
Darlow, right? So Carl Darlow hoofs it down the field, aiming to either Carol Wilson, and then they get Ashley crowded out straight away. And then what we'll do then, we just sit back, let the opposition have the ball. But that's Steve Bruce for you. He's just scared of having a go. He's scared of letting our players expressing themselves, you know what I mean? Like I said earlier on, boxing, good attacking players there, but then allowed to play their way.
That's poor to say you can only mention one game, and that was against West Brom, who were probably near the bottom anyway. Well, must have been, yeah.
That sums it up. That.
Yeah.
I mean,
John, do you not think right? And I was thinking this the other day when I was sort of looking at Newcastle's form, right? Before you had that break because of the training ground getting shut down for the COVID situation, right? You were actually doing okay. You wasn't being brilliant, but you were picking up points. You were winning games. You'd beaten Crystal Palace away, I think, the game before. You were playing quite well, actually, getting results. You wasn't losing many games. In fact, away from home, I don't think you lost away from home up to that point. And then you had that break because of COVID and maybe some other issues, like you said, with St. Maximum and a few other issues maybe behind the scenes. And it seems as though since you've come back from that break, that's when you haven't won a game. Or maybe the West Brom game, I think, was the only game that you won. But since then, you haven't won a game. And it's like, do you think do you think something's happened during that little break that you had that's created some problems? Because the performances and the results certainly have gone backwards since then, haven't they? Quite quickly.
It has. I mean, we had a couple of players out with COVID as well. And not only that, it's the players. For me, the players just don't believe in Steve Bruce. And I can notice one or two players have been tired as well. Like Jamal Lascelles should never started. Brian Fraser should never started. Freddie Fernandez and had COVID as well. And for me, it's just a belief. It's just a belief of the team. It's just the way we set up to play. And that's why we've not been winning games. What was it? 6 losses.
Was that not the same before you had that break for COVID, though? Were you not setting up the same way and still getting reasonably consistent results?
Well, for me, in my personal opinion, I just don't think that, like I said, some of the players haven't been good enough since the COVID as well. But Steve Bruce keeps changing the team up as well. He's let a bunch of players play, and then he changed it up again. So it could be a COVID thing, but at the same time, I think it's tiredness as well, and also they've just not been playing well at all. It's just so frustrating. Melvin's gone.
Oh, Melvin's gone. I'm sure he'll be back in a minute. I mean, obviously, Eric there's put a point there about Steve Bruce blaming the players. I don't know if that's what's been going on, and he thinks he'll be shocked if it's 0-0 at half time. I mean, I won't. I'd be amazed if it isn't 0-0 at half time.
Yeah.
Melvin. Let's get him back. There you go.
Okay, well, I don't know what happened there. Sorry, Joe.
Was someone on the phone again for you, Melvin? Oh, is that what it was?
Sorry.
Oh, I think he's froze again.
Bless him.
So Joel says the problem with Arsenal is we don't know what a first half is. Yeah, no, that's true. Our first halves generally are quite poor. And Paul, as a Newcastle fan, be happy to get a point out of this game. Yeah, I mean, I think Steve Bruce will be happy to get a point out of it as well, actually. You know, and I guess that would be a decent result for Newcastle overall. A question for John there. It's clear you want Bruce to go. Who would you like to bring in? That's a good question there from Joel. Who would you like them to bring in then, John, if Bruce was to go? For
me, I would say Eddie Howe, but I don't think he'll come. Nigel Pearson would be a good shout. Nigel Pearson, I'd attack him because, listen, only for the short term until the end of the season, he'll set teams up in the 4-4-2 and it'll be solid, compact, and the players know their role. But at the same time, he won't take any crap from no players at all. So I'd definitely take Nigel Pearson. I can't see Eddie Howe coming in. But I've looked at the bookies today that Mark Hughes is 4-1 to become Newcastle's manager. I've just seen it.
Really?
4-1 to be Newcastle's manager if Boozy gets a sack.
What would you think about that if that happened?
Another dinosaur to the club. I would never touch him. I wouldn't. I mean, it's players like Hughes, Allardyce, Hoos, they're long gone. They're done. We need a fresh,
I agree.
Fresh young manager. Look at you. You got Arteta. He's young. He's fresh, and he'll do well for you in time. But for us, we need a young, fresh manager to come in. But the trouble is, they're not going to come to Newcastle. Why? Because of Mike Ashley. Steven Gerrard has been linked as well. Rafa left, but he wouldn't come because the way Rafa got treated, and also Patrick Vieira. I wouldn't mind giving Vieira a go because he's a young manager and he deserves a crack in the Premier League. He just got sacked off Nice, didn't he?
Yeah, no. We've just Melvin's back as well. I've just seen the teams actually. I don't know whether you've seen them yet. Newcastle, because they are going 4-4-2 actually.
Yeah,
John.
I'm here.
4-4-2.
Yeah, I've seen them.
So Newcastle's teams: Darlow in goal. Back four, it's Kraft, Lascelles, Clark, and Lewis, which pretty much normal back four, I guess, isn't it? Then Almiron, Longstaff, Matty Longstaff, Shelvey, and Joe Linton across the midfield, and then Andy Carroll and Wilson, Callum Wilson up front. So it's quite an attacking lineup, isn't it? You think Joe Linton, Almiron, Carroll, and Wilson, that's almost like 4 attacking players. I mean, that's adventurous, that from Steve Bruce, to be fair. It's a gamble for him, and if it plays off, then fair play. But I think that plays into our hands a little bit, being that open. But having said that, you've got a goal scoring threat, and that's good. I mean, our team, the Arsenal teams, Leno in goal, Cedric Suarez is coming at right back, which is for Hector Bellerin. Not quite sure if Bellerin's got an injury. It's Holding and David Luiz at centre backs, as has been the case, and Tierney's back at left back, thankfully, which is good news. The two in midfield, it's Xhaka and Thomas Partey starting, which is great news as well. Hopefully he's fit enough to really have an influence in this game. Then the 3 behind the striker, as expected, Saka, Smith Rowe, and Aubameyang, and then Lacazette up front. So it's only really 2 changes to the starting lineup from the midweek game. It's Cedric Suarez at right back and Thomas Partey starting in midfield. So not wholesale changes. I wasn't expecting too many, but there's always one, isn't there, Melvin? I think the Cedric Suarez one's a little bit of he's thrown one in there, hasn't he? I'm not sure if that's an injury to Bellerin or if he's just resting him. I'm not really sure.
Well, Bellerin's on the subs bench, isn't he?
Is he? I've not seen the subs bench.
Yeah,
here he is. Yeah,
he's on the subs bench. Yeah. So perhaps it isn't an injury then. Perhaps I mean, he did have a stinker the other day when he kept passing back. Perhaps he wants to wait for arrows on the pitch. He knows where to pass.
He wasn't the only one, though, was he? That's the point, I guess. I mean, Eric, he's in the attacking lineup. Yeah, very attacking lineup.
Encouraging to see Martinelli on the subs bench as well.
You got a fan, John, which is good.
Hey.
Gale not on the bench. Well, I mean, maybe Gale's not on the bench because all the other attacking players are in the team. Maybe.
I don't know about
Murphy's on the bench, isn't he? Hayden's not playing. I just realised Hayden's not in the team. I don't know why Hayden's not playing. Did a long start.
But the thing is, though, looking at the squad there, I mean, I'm worried about Emil Kraft. I don't think he's a good defender because Kieran Tierney and Saka will run really at him and because I don't think Kraft is good enough. People say he's a solid defender, he does okay, but us as Italian football fans, I love Italian football. I followed this guy's career at Bologna, and it was just bang average. And when Newcastle came in for, I said, please no. And it got him. But at the end of the day, Kraft's just bang average. And look at the side, Almiron is a number 10, plays on the right, on the wing, as a wing. And Joe Linton play on the left-hand side. So if you look at those two there, it looks a bit unbalanced because they're both not pop-out wingers. Almiron is a number 10. So we have to see what happens, but it's great to see Matty Longstaff in.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, I think he's better than his brother, isn't he? I don't think there's any doubt about that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, actually, I'm quite excited about looking at the team lineups. I'm quite excited about this game now because it does seem as though Newcastle have picked an attacking side, which could make it a better game, a bit more open than I was expecting. So I actually think it could be a decent game now. I was a bit worried it was going to be a boring 0-0 draw, a bit like last week, but maybe not. What's happened actually? You're talking about sort of right backs. You've got obviously, like you said about Kraft. What's happened to that Jethro Williams? Because he was pretty good, wasn't he?
I thought it was absolutely amazing. I mean, the lad's fantastic, but he had that injury against Chelsea last season. It's a pretty bad one as well. So he's out at the end of the season. And then he went back to, excuse me, Andran Vanford. But I'd love to see this guy come back in again, I'd love to see him back because he's a fantastic left back. And then John Lewis could learn from him in future.
Was he left back with him, Williams? Oh, okay. I thought he was right back.
No, he's left back. But one thing I was here, though, looking at that squad, Steve Bruce said the gloves are going to be off. It seems to me, look at that squad, the gloves are definitely off. So he's gone for it. And good for it.
Definitely going for it. Yeah, no, he's going for it. I mean, that is a very much more adventurous lineup than I expected, especially away from home. I thought Newcastle would come and sit deep. I mean, they still might, but maybe he's looking at catching us on the break. Obviously Almiron's got pace. Wilson's a goal scorer, isn't he? He scored a few against us before for Bournemouth. So, I mean, I actually do think it could be a good game now. I was a little bit I thought it might have been a 0-0 draw before, but I'm suddenly thinking there might be goals in this now. I mean, having seen the teams, Melvin, what are you kind of making of Arsenal's lineup there? I know it's not many changes from the last couple of games, really, is there?
It's probably as near as a lineup that I would like to see with the players available. I mean, obviously I'd like to have seen Martinelli instead of Aubameyang if he's 100% fit. We don't know if he is. But apart from that, I'm quite happy with the lineup. Yeah, not. I can't really knock it. I can't. I always like to knock Xhaka when he has a poor game, but he's been played decent the last few games. So while he's playing decent, play him. But you must remember that at some stage, we will rule Xhaka, please stand up. But as he's playing well, you can't drop him. He's done well. So no, this is a team I'd probably, apart from Aubameyang, probably pick.
Yeah, I've noticed Ceballos isn't even on the bench, is he? Danny Ceballos.
I just not noticed that. Yeah, you're right. No, that's right. Yeah.
So I don't know if he's got an injury or if he's. I mean, we've got a big
nine. He can't pick everyone. He's only got 9 places.
But I mean, he's only got 9 he can name. Yeah,
he normally plays. So he should be, on the subs bench. I agree if he doesn't play. That's a weird one. He might be injured. I don't know. Not.
I mean, I'd have maybe put him on the bench instead of maybe Willock or Pepe personally. But anyway, I guess it's just maybe he's slightly off the pace or injured slightly. But no, I say I am quite surprised at Newcastle's lineup. So let's see if it pays off or whether it backfires. I mean, that's going to be we're going to see what happens, aren't we? I guess. But yeah, I mean, I'm a lot more excited about the game now. I must admit because. There could be goals in it now. I mean, why don't we then sort of look at now we've seen the teams? What are we thinking in terms of score predictions then? I mean, as the team lineups kind of made you think a bit differently to maybe what you were thinking perhaps before, it has made me maybe reconsider slightly. I mean, we start with you then, John. What are you thinking now? Looking at the team lineups, what's your sort of score prediction for this game now?
I did say 3-0, but looking at that team, it's either Steve's going to be BF or an absolute folly. But not only that, I mean, if I make predictions, I mean, all the Twitter replies to that squad sort of thing are saying the gloves are definitely off. And no, I'm still going to say 2-0 to Arsenal. But if you give a good account of ourselves, to be fine. But I'm going to say 2-0 to Arsenal still.
Okay, fair enough.
Cardolo will be busy in that need. Definitely.
Well, I hope he is. I hope he's very busy, but I'm not so sure he will be. But anyway, we'll see. What about yourself, Melvin? Have you maybe?
I'm going to be like the manager, the Newcastle manager, Bruce. I'm going to throw caution to the wind against the grain and all that stuff. I'm going 3-2 to the Arsenal. I really, could be a funny one tonight. 3-2.
Wow. Okay. Well, 3-2 would be a good game. Definitely, it'd be a decent game to watch. Let's hope if it is 5 goals, I'm quite happy with a 3-2. I mean, I feel now there might be more goals in it than I was anticipating. I was thinking of 1-0 actually in my preview video the other day. I said 1-0, but that was assuming Newcastle were going to come with 10 defenders like they normally do. But he's been a little bit more adventurous, hasn't he? So. I still think we'll nick it, but I still think it's going to be tight. I'm going to say 2-1 maybe. I think there'll be a few more goals than I was anticipating before. I'm going to say 2-1. We'll just nick it 2-1. But yeah, which would be all right, wouldn't it? I'd happy with that. Take it 2-1.
There are, because I was really stick my neck out. Newcastle will score first. We get 3 goals, then Newcastle get one near the end and make us sweat. There we go.
There you go.
Well, that would be a decent game, wouldn't it? I'd quite enjoy that, but I can't remember last time we had a game like that, actually. Actually, I'll tell you when it was. Was it not when we played Everton last season? That was a game like that, when Everton scored first and then...
Oh, that was a weird thing. That game, Richard, I don't know if you recall, I think they scored a minute before half-time. Then they scored a minute after half-time. It was like a weird game. It was like, the girl that sat in front of me, I think she missed 3 goals because she went out half-time before the end of the first half, came back late. I think was an early goal as well that someone scored. The first minute, was it?
Yeah, Newcastle scored. Everton scored in the first minute. Then we came back, and then Everton equalised in the last minute of the first half. Then we scored again in the first minute of the second half.
She missed 3 goals, this girl. She got to the ground late, 5 minutes. She went out before half time. She came back after half time. She'd missed 3 goals.
Wow.
Unbelievable. A true football fan.
Yeah. I mean, it's not exactly cheap tickets either, is it? So you don't want to miss goals when you paid that much for a ticket to the game. You know what I mean? But that's that was a strange game, that one. But yeah, I mean, maybe it could be something similar tonight then. This season has been, the one thing it's kind of taught us is how unpredictable it is this season. Anything can happen in any game by the look of it, because who knows? But I mean, I still think we will probably just say it. There's a question for you again here, John. Gale's not on the bench. Have you heard any news on him? Is he injured or?
I've not heard that one at all. I don't know what Hopkinton is injured. I don't think he's injured, but I just don't think he's in the team. But I don't know why. But with Steve Bruce, when he does a press conference on a Friday, he doesn't hardly speak about the injury news. And the press should be pressing that question to him, but don't know at all. And the trouble with the press in Newcastle, they're just so amateurish, it's just an absolute joke. Because I did a press conference reaction on the Friday and what's being said, and they just don't ask the big questions, and simple as that.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, that's it. All press conferences, actually, to be fair. It's not. I don't think it's just at Newcastle's ones. I think it's at most of them. They don't tend to ask the questions that we would ask if we were there. The things that we want to know as fans, they never really ask that, do they, very often? But yeah, I mean, I guess like I said before, I mean, he's got 4 attacking players in the team, so his option will probably be, if things aren't going well, or even if Newcastle get in the lead, and he's always got the option to bring on a few more defensive players, maybe as the second option if necessary, I guess. But obviously, if it doesn't go well and you Newcastle are behind, he's got no attacking players to bring on, really, looking at the bench.
This is it. It's thrown all in one basket, do you know? And we got Dubaka, Richie, Hendricks, Hearden, Mankilo, Edlin, Sean Longstaff, Jake Murphy, and young Elliot Anderson. So he's going for it, and he's thrown it all in one basket now. But what I'm being told, Bruce is only doing that because he knows he'll be sacked before February. That's my guess. I think he'll go after the Everton game. That's why he's doing this. He's basically putting 2 fingers up at us and say, do you know what? You've got attacking football. I'll hear you. I'm gonna give it to you. And if it goes wrong, then he's going to start blaming us. He's going to start blaming the fans, you know. And you do not blame the fans. You just don't. And also, I want to see leadership qualities tonight from the team. I'll be watching carefully at that. Leadership is important to the team. But Newcastle this season, when you see the goal, it's game over. The players don't go out to each other and say, look, lads, oh yeah, we can come back from this and come back from this, you know. But unfortunately, they don't do that. The hits drop so easily. There's no fight in this team. And hopefully, I want to see that. I want to see leadership quality. I mean, you look at the team, got Lascelles. He thinks he's a leader. John Joe Shelby thinks he's a leader. We need to put John Shelby's a poor player. I used to like him, but I just don't think the player that he was, I'm afraid. You know, and I think Hayden must be gutted not doing that team.
Yeah, or maybe that's something to do with what happened on the pitch, maybe against Sheffield United, do you think, then? Because was it not Hayden that was the one who was speaking to Steve Bruce, wasn't he? Maybe that might be the reason he's left him out, perhaps. Maybe he thought it was a little bit of, gameplay by the players. That might be why he's done that, perhaps.
Could be, but again, you're not going to hear, they're not going to tell us anything, do you know what I mean? But that could be one of the possibilities. Or he's just come back from COVID because he had a couple of weeks off from COVID, and that's the reason why they're going to treat him gently
Yeah, yeah,
COVID, you know.
Yeah, I say I've noticed Newcastle's form really dropped off since that kind of COVID break that they had when the training ground was shut. So I don't know whether or not it's had a lasting effect on a few of the players as well. Maybe I don't know, but anyway, I don't suppose we'll ever know that, will we? It's just you just got to take each game as it comes and hope that the team plays better. I guess the referee tonight, by the way, is David Coote, who I believe is a new-ish referee, isn't he? I think this might be his first season as a ref. And didn't he have some issue? Wasn't it him that had some issue in one of the games over some decision or other? I can't remember what it was now. I'm sure it was him in one of his early games in the Premier League.
There was something. I can't remember. Hold on, there was something.
Yeah, I seem to remember because I'm sure this is his first season on the Premier League list. Actually, I think he was in the Championship before. I'm not sure if he's left any of that.
Richard, was it a VAR issue? Was it a VAR issue?
Yeah, I think it might have been. Yeah, I think it might have been a VAR issue. Yeah, there was something, and I know that
there was something like that.
He made a catastrophic, sort of calamitous decision, and I think even with VAR, I don't think it got changed, or maybe it did get changed, and I'm not really sure what happened. But I remember it being on Match of the Day. There was a big sort of issue about it at the time earlier in the season, and I thought they'd maybe sent him away to get retrained, but clearly not. Or maybe they're just giving him to us because we deserve a crap ref again. I don't know. But we'll see. He'll probably have a good game tonight, the ref. I don't know. But anyway.
Oh, you know something, Richard, who's not on the bench either? Maitland-Niles.
Oh, he's not, no.
That's a funny one.
Yeah, Maitland-Niles, yeah, because he played, didn't he, the other night as well?
Yeah, that's a funny one, isn't it? Very
badly, but he did play. Yeah, no, that is a bit of a I didn't realise that either. Yeah, that's a good point. I mean, could that not be a possibility of maybe a transfer out because he's had interest?
I'm thinking that, yeah.
He's had interest, hasn't he, from other clubs maybe, Maitland-Niles,
and all that.
Yeah. Yeah, that could be. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, he's a good player. I like him. I think he's a good player. When he comes in the end of the team, I think he does okay.
He can do a job. If he's given a specific job, he's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Give him a job. Look, that's the danger player. Mark him. Take that space. When he just plays in a position and let him play, like the other night, he had a poor game, didn't he?
Yeah, he was terrible. Yeah, he was terrible. Yeah, he had a really poor game. But I don't think left back in a back four is his strongest position anyway. You couldn't expect him to have a great game. He's all right in a back three, isn't he? When he plays left wing back, I think he's all right there. But when he's playing left back in a back four, I don't think it's his strongest position. And I think he got shown up for that the other night. And either he's been left out of the squad on the back of that performance, or it's to do with a possible transfer. Because you never know in January, do you? Because the transfer window's open. And any player that gets left out of the squad, you assume it's because they might be about to leave. Especially a player that's not maybe playing regularly, as Maitland-Niles hasn't been. And maybe that's the same with Dwight Gale, maybe. Who knows? Maybe he's looking, maybe there's a transfer potentially for him going out, maybe. You just don't know, do you? I say January is one of them sort of strange months, isn't it, where you don't know what's going to happen.
Dwight Gale seems to have been around for years. He's one of those players that he's always seems to have been around, Dwight Gale. He always seems to do a decent job. He's been with a few. He's West Brom, wasn't he, as well? Was he West Brom? Yeah, West Brom. He scored a lot of goals.
Crystal Palace. Yeah. No, I think he's a decent player, isn't he? He's a wholehearted player. He can score goals. He's just maybe not quite at the sort of top level Premier League, is he? You can tell by the clubs he's played for, like you said, West Brom, Crystal Palace. That's his kind of where he is in the Premier League, isn't he? And I suppose if Newcastle really want to progress, then Dwight Gale's not the sort of player you want up front, is he? And Callum Wilson's probably an upgrade on him, I guess, really. And I think that's how that's kind of proving to be. But I've always liked Dwight Gale. Years ago, he used to play for Dagenham and Redbridge, who's my local team. I used to watch them.
Did he? Dagenham and Redbridge?
He played for them, Dwight Gale. So did Matt Ritchie, actually. Matt Ritchie had a season on loan from Portsmouth at Dagenham and Redbridge, right? This would have been about 12 years ago when he was a young player. He was absolutely brilliant. Matt Ritchie played left wing for Dagenham. He scored a lot of goals. He got about 13, 14 goals that season for Dagenham. He was absolutely brilliant, he was. And ever since then, I've really followed his career, Matt Ritchie. And the same with Dwight Gale for the same reason. And, I'm glad that Matt Ritchie's ended up having a decent Premier League career, actually, because I always thought he had potential. He must have been about 19, 18 maybe when he played for Dagenham, something like that. Young lad. He had a season on loan, and I think he got player of the season on loan. That's how good he was. And yeah, I've always liked him, actually, Matt Ritchie as well. I mean, he's on the bench, isn't he, tonight? But he's another player that I think he's had a decent Premier League career. He's not top level Premier League, is he? But he's a steady, solid, decent Premier League player that can do a job at pretty much, 75% of the Premier League. He could do a job at, couldn't he? Player like him, I think.
With all due respect to him, he could have done a job for us the way we've had our midfield the last few years at certain times.
Possibly, yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. No. I think
some of the performances we've had from players, Richard, it's been like, oh my God, how come he's in our team? A guy like Richie is not going to be your international superstar, but he's done a better job perhaps than some of the boys that have been there anyway.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with that at all. I say I've always think he's a good player, Matt Ritchie. I've always thought that. When he was at Bournemouth before as well, really good player. So, yeah, I mean, he could probably still do a job for us now, actually, maybe instead of Pepe. But anyway, that's another.
You know what the problem we got tonight, though, Richard, about the lineup? You're talking about Newcastle got no one to bring on. We've only got, Martinelli's the only one in the bench, I think, that can make a change of the game tonight if things aren't going wrong well. There's no one else I can look at.
Eddie, possibly. I mean, he's come off the bench and got goals before, hasn't he? So I guess that's another possibility. And I suppose Pepe as well. I mean, I know he's very frustrating, very hit and miss, but I guess he could come on and get a goal, maybe if necessary, if needed. Maybe, I don't know. The potential's there. Whether he would be able to do that or not is another thing. He didn't do very well against Crystal Palace when he came on for that reason. But anyway, I mean, the quality in our squad isn't there, is it? That's the problem. We don't have the depth, the quality and depth that we need if we're going to really progress much. And that's the problem that we have, unfortunately. And I can't see that changing for a while because we're not going to be splashing out loads of money, are we? When we haven't got the money to splash out, that's the problem. But anyway, I mean, I'm pleased Thomas Partey's starting anyway. Let's hope he can have a real impact in this game because that would be nice to see, wouldn't it? Thomas Partey again back in the team.
Yeah. Quality player. He's a champion manager. Good player.
Yeah. No, he's been brilliant. Yeah. So let's just hope that he's fit and he can really have an influence on this game, and that could end up making a difference because our midfield has been poor. Hopefully he can do a good job there. I mean, I don't know whether. I mean, he'd be up against Matty Longstaff and Shelby, so that could be interesting. Because I think Shelby will just kick him, won't he?
Going back to Dagenham and Redbridge days, Richard, do you remember a guy called Arbour? Mark Arbour?
Mark Arbour, yeah, I know Mark Arbour, yeah.
Yes, my wife Tara, she's friendly with his sister because we followed Dagenham and Redbridge because they won at Wembley, a very big game, didn't they?
Yeah, I was at that game, the playoff final, yeah.
Yeah, the playoff final. Yeah, we watched it live because of Sarah's friend, my wife's friend, and I
was at that game. It was a brilliant game. One of the best games I've ever been to. That playoff final.
Yeah, it was a good game. It was an excellent game. Who they beat? I can't remember who they beat.
Rotherham.
Who they beat? Oh, Rotherham. Right.
Yeah, they beat Rotherham 3-2. Yeah, that was a great day. That absolutely fantastic. Mark Arbour was obviously captain that.
That's
that day as well. But yeah, actually,
I think she was on. I think Sarah saw on the camera because he went over to the crowd, and I think she was there. I think. I mean, we'll have to ask her when she comes back and me my dinner. I vaguely remember she spotted her in the crowd. Quite funny.
Right. Yeah, because I remember that game. Yeah, that was one of the best days I've had at football. That was brilliant. Dagenham winning 3-2 in the playoffs. Obviously, when I was growing up as a kid, Dagenham were just a non-league team. Never thought they'd ever get in the Football League, and to actually get not only into the Football League, but to get into League One as well was just unbelievable. And to almost survive as well, just on the last day of the season, they got relegated back to League Two on the last day. Yeah, we had to get a draw with Peterborough, right? If we'd got a draw, we'd stayed up. And yeah, Peterborough had already was in the playoffs or something, and it ended up 5-0. But in the first half, in the first half, it was 0-0, and Dagenham had about 3 chances to score, didn't take them. And then Peterborough ended up winning 5-0, and Dagenham went down. And of course, now they've gone back all the way down through to the conference again, but or the National League as it is now. But yeah, I mean, just to see Dagenham get through to League One was just incredible, really. They had 3 or 4 really good seasons. That a great team with John Still as a manager, and obviously Mark Arbour as captain. Right. And yeah, really good team.
Where was their ground?
Where's the ground?
Where was the ground? Is it still the same ground?
Yeah. It's just near Dagenham East Station.
Oh, right.
Just down from there. Yeah, it's only a little. Actually, West
I'm
Ham.
based in Redbridge. I'm based in Redbridge.
Oh, right. No, it's in Dagenham. I mean, West Ham women play there now.
Oh, right.
They play their home games there. They played there yesterday against Tottenham. They played actually there yesterday at Dagenham and Redbridge Ground. So yeah, but I've not been there for a while actually. But I need to go and watch them again actually because there's great days. Watching your little local non-league team and that is just fantastic, isn't it? Because the characters that go to them games, it's just brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Oh,
really good times. And what I liked about it more, I think, anything was it took me back to the days when. Early days watching Arsenal, when you could pay on the door and you could stand up behind the goal and kind of stuff, just a little bit of a trip down memory lane, maybe a little bit as well, for that kind of experience of football, which you don't get anymore, do you, unfortunately, in the Premier League. But yeah, there was good days, good times, and hopefully one day Dagenham might be back in the league again. That'd be nice, but I don't think they will for a while yet. I think they've got a few financial problems like everybody else at that level of football now. Unfortunately,
they must have. All must have.
Yeah, exactly. Especially now. I mean, over the last year or so, it's been a nightmare, isn't it? A lot of those smaller clubs, I don't know how they're even going to survive because having no fans or very few fans. Did you watch that? There was a program about Bury FC. Did you watch that? It was on where Bury got they got thrown out of the league, didn't they? Because their owner was a bit of a tit by all accounts. And the fans built a new club called Bury AFC, and there was a documentary on the telly. Actually, I saw it the other night, just about that season where they basically started up the club from scratch, and then they got into like one of the lower leagues, the sort of non-league leagues, and unfortunately, because of the current situation, the games have been called off and stuff like that. But it was really good actually. So you could get a feel of what it's like to be them small clubs with no money. No budgets, not a big fan base, and that's real football, that, isn't it? And I know that we love the Premier League and we love our clubs and all this, that, and the other, but that's like real football for me, isn't it? Without that,
I've been watching the last few, not last season or the season before, but before that, I was watching for a bit. My friend got to do with Pitney and Bowes. Heard of them? Pitney and Bowes. They played in the semi-final. What's that big amateur cup? Goes to the whole nation. Goes. FA Vase. They got to the semi-final and they played a team from Newcastle.
Right? Well, I mean, John will know it. Every year, there's always a team from the Northern League tends to get to the Vase final, isn't there?
That was South Shields.
South Shields, yeah. I think it was. Yeah, because
Vase Cup. I think it was South Shields, and they won their league well last season, but they were denied promoted because of the COVID, so they suspended the league, but they still did get up, even though they won the league. But I think they won the Vase Cup last season, South Shields.
Well, I remember a few years ago, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, we went down to the Emirates to watch Arsenal, and South Shields were playing at Wembley. I think it was the day of the Vase final, and there was a load on our train. There was a load of South Shields fans on the train actually. Going to Wembley, that was they won as well, I think. So they must have enjoyed that. I think that was a couple of years. They must have won it a few times, if they'd have Vase, South Shields, because that would have been a couple of years ago. That I would have thought.
I think he won a couple of years ago. You're right. I mean, unless someone else knows about it, but they definitely won it. And
they did win it. Yeah.
Julia Arca, this guy he played. This
guy went to the first leg. Oh, sorry, John. Sorry.
No, I was just say Julia Arca. He's played for Sunderland for years, and he's played for the Borough.
Yeah. That's right. He was at South Shields, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's played for South Shields a couple of years, and he's retired. I think he's back in Argentina. As retired from. I think he's back in Argentina. I could be wrong, but so yeah, he's had a good career, and just didn't play for them like that good, but hey. And because he was after him as well, but Sunderland got him first.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
This game, I went to the first leg. It was 2-2, and it had to be played not their home pitch, Pitney and Bowes. It was at Canvey Island because their pitch was waterlogged. I was sitting there, and I tell you something. Every second of the game, I was looking at my watch. It was so cold. I've been at some cold games over the years, but nothing like this. It was like, it was unbelievable. But it was, I think they went 2-0 down, Pitsy, and then they got it to 2-2. But on the away leg, they got beat and missed that count in the final. But as you say, you can hear the ball being kicked a bit like now, but with a crowd. You know, and you can hear the shout. And some people say some great characters to these games. Some very funny things said. You know what I mean? And it just takes you back to where you were years ago. You know.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, that's the thing for me. That's what it always was. Really, it was a throwback to the good old days, maybe, if you want to call them that. You know, of going to Arsenal in the 80s and stuff like that. Just paying on the door when you get there. You haven't got to buy a ticket in advance, and standing behind the goal or whatever it is, and all that kind of stuff. Just and the fans of those clubs have a real good relationship with the actual players as well, because they know them. They drink in the bar and stuff like that.
Of course.
And it's a real proper family kind of atmosphere, really, which the first division used to be a bit like, didn't it, years ago? And now it's not. It's not a family at all. The players don't have any connection whatsoever with the fans, do they? In the Premier League at all anymore. And I think that it's not as good for that reason, really, is it? But anyway, I suppose.
And it followed the players through, didn't it? Because you've players of the 70s, 80s, and 90s. If you see them now, they are the friendliest people you can ever get. Yeah. They're absolutely wonderful. They don't mind having a chat to you, and they're really, if you say hello, if you see one of them in the street, not very often now, but if you would have bumped in or any given do or whatever, or on a street, whatever, they always give you the time and have a chat and all that. If you went up to one of them now, they'd have 5 men around them.
Yeah, they would. Yeah,
wouldn't they?
Yeah. No, they would, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's where it's changed, and I suppose part of it's to do with the money that they earn now compared to back then. Players didn't earn a lot of money then, did they? Really? So I suppose they were more down to earth, maybe, than what they are now. If you give a young player, 150 grand a week, they're not going to be the same as they were before, are they? It's just the way it is, unfortunately, and I guess that's what's happening.
It is the money, but it is, Richard. It is the money, but it's also the way they're treated. They're treated like film stars, and they expect to be. They think they are film stars.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they earn more than film stars, probably, some of them.
Yeah, they do actually. Yeah.
Don't they? But anyway, I mean, I guess in a way you could look at it like that.
Very good acting, aren't they?
Well, yeah, football is meant to be entertainment, isn't it? So they're meant to be there to entertain us. They don't always do it very well, especially this season for Arsenal and probably Newcastle as well, actually. But it's meant to be entertainment, isn't it? Let's hope the game tonight can entertain us for a bit anyway. That's what we hope for. Yeah. I mean, what I'm doing is I've set it up on a different stream. So what I'll do is if we maybe have a bit of a break for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and then we can come back on the other stream and do the watch along, if that's all right. Yeah. So if anyone obviously who's in the chat, we've got does John ever go and see the Heat? I mean, assuming that's Gateshead, isn't it?
Yes, you die. No, I don't actually. I mean, I like to do okay, but I've not seen a Gateshead match. I haven't. But no, I haven't. Just Newcastle.
I mean, they've got that Athletic Stadium they play now, which probably isn't ideal, is it?
Aye.
Which never really helps, is it?
Just A184, not just off there. So go towards Java and then on to South Shields. So so Gateshead, they used to be in the league actually, didn't they? Years and years ago, Gateshead did, didn't they? They did.
To be in the league. South Shields actually, didn't they? South Shields did as well, didn't they? They was in the Football League a long time ago.
Yeah.
So used to be a lot of North East teams, and now there's only 2 left, and one of them's looking a bit dicey. Sunderland, they're not exactly doing well at the moment, are they? So, which I'm sure you're pleased about.
The thing is, though, we haven't beat Sunderland for 7 games, and the day we're going to beat Sunderland, the day we beat them again, I'll be over the moon. I hope not just we beat them, I hope we stuff them, and that will make my I'm telling you, because all these Sunderland fans doesn't say 6 in a row all the time, and I'm thinking, short man.
They've got not much to pipe up about, have they? Besides having League One, do you know what I mean? They should. They need to accept that's not really. you know, they can't really give you any grief, can they? When they're down there.
I mean, Ellis Short has messed that club up. He totally messed that club up. And then Stuart Donald, with all at the club at the time, actually gotten relegated. So it's just paying too much money. There's a lot of players at Sunderland on huge wages, and they wouldn't shift.
Well, that's because they're in the high divisions. That's why.
Yeah, there's a lot. Leeds had the same problems, didn't they, back in the sort of mid 2000s when they went down the leagues. Unfortunately, that could happen. And when you're in that situation,
much bigger way.
It's hard to come back from that, isn't it? You know, it's hard, and Sunderland have found it hard. You know, they're a massive club potentially down in League One, and they can't get out of it. So, but anyway, I guess that's nothing to us to be concerned about, really, is it? We don't need to worry too much about that. Yes, if we have a little break for 10 minutes or so, I'll say I'll send a new link out. So anyone who's in the chat, you know, Eric, Mark, Paul, anybody who wants to pop along there, jump over to my channel on YouTube, and there'll be obviously the show will go up on there. I'll stick a link out probably on Twitter in a minute, actually, just so that people can follow it on there as well. And then we'll be back maybe if we come back about maybe 10 to 8 or something like that, and build up to kick off.
Lovely.
Yeah, so we have a quick drink, and then we can get back into it. So I'll see you guys very soon. And so thanks for the chat. Nip over to that and watch that as well. And we'll see you very soon.
See you soon.